Hi, this is Chimes Media and I'm James Williams. Okay, I wanted to just have a brief talk about the Brexit situation. The BBC continue to pound away on the side of Remain. It's pretty sick now. I think it's pretty obvious that the BBC and much of the broadcasting media are very biased against the people's wishes, do not represent the majority. And in fact are continuing to bias representation for the Brexit cause or against the Brexit cause on their broadcasting sites. In fact, a lot of people are not watching the BBC. I don't contribute a thing to the BBC's licence fee. I refuse to do that, and actually that was my wife's decision a few years back, so I don't think we've been harmed by it. All it does, it saves you a lot of frustration and annoyance with them. They come from a different walk of life, a different social class, I would say. I don't think they really understand like working class people or anything else like that. Anyway, but from YouGov, they're a quite accredited polling organisation. They've been doing polling on lots of issues, but the Brexit situation is one of them. So they came out with the latest score, should I say, at the end of May, and they broke it up into first, second, third, fourth preferences, which makes it rather complicated. But what I've done is I've just taken basically the first preferences, because the second, third and fourth tend to balance themselves out. They do show trends that, like Theresa May's withdrawal deal has got less popular since March. It's gone down in popularity. But what's interesting to most people, I think, is the overall score. And so what we've got in March 2019, Remain, and just hanging on here, in the referendum in 2016, Remain got 48%, Leave 52%. In March 2019, 3 years later, Remain has gone down to 46% and Leave has gone up to 54%. And May 2019, that's the end of May 2019, the same score. Remain 46%, Leave 54%. Now you can argue over the details as much as you like, but there has been a move for more people to support Leave than Remain. And that is in spite of all the propaganda put out by the BBC, ITV and all the fake newspapers that come out with this sort of stuff. Remain has not gained any position. It's lost favourability, and I think actually if it went to a second referendum, I think the 54% would become a bit bigger, because people would see it for what it is, and I think people would be really annoyed about being treated, because we are treated like ignorant peasants who don't know anything. The fact, you get people talking on economics. Yeah, well, the United States, who desperately would like to do deals with us, who are now the number one oil producer in the world, right? So it's tempting to start using American oil. That would be nice, wouldn't it? We wouldn't have to worry about bombs on limpet mines and bombs and attacks on shipping coming out the Gulf. We could get a relatively safe access source from the United States. What's wrong with that? The United States economy is far bigger than the EU's economy, and when they start talking about the economy, we're going to lose out on this and lose out on that, the EU is on the point of collapse, really, economically. It's not sustainable. It might creak on for months, years even, but it's not a stable organisation. There's a push for increased globalisation. There's more oppression. There's more shutdown of freedom of speech. There's more desire for authoritarian control. You look at Macron as an utter disgrace. Where the yellow vest protesters are going on every weekend every weekend. These aren't radical extremists. These are people who have suffered under the EU's auspices. You know, they've seen their culture change. And I see, what was it, one of the figures yesterday, getting tons of data coming in, that in France there are now as many Muslims as there are practicing Catholics. So France is about to go under. And the people who are doing the yellow vest protesters, do you know they fired these, what do they call them? These flash balls, I think they're called. And that's not the correct terms. They're illegal. They're banned in all other European countries, but they're allowed in in France. And what these things do, they're like plastic bullet type things, but far worse, because they hit someone, then they fly off in different directions. I understand, and they're not to be aimed at. They're supposed to be aimed at the body rather than the head. But the French police apparently have been shooting at people's faces, and people have been losing eyes and hands and everything else. These are ordinary people. These are country folk in France, and the bloody media silence. Nobody says anything, and I think you have is it a notice D? I can't remember. Notice D if there's a secrecy that has to be maintained. Like if you're in a state of war, you don't want the media to spill in all your secrets to the enemy. So they have a notice D. But I don't believe there has been any notice D. So this seems to be a voluntary suppression of news. And so people are being mutilated by French police at the behest of the French government, aka Macron. He is a dictator. You know, they decry people like Hitler. Well, you don't have to look any further than that. I mean, what sort of character is he? You know, I'm sorry, this might get me into trouble for spouting off. I don't like see people getting hurt. I don't like Antifa, but I don't see people and Antifa being busted up and broken legs and everything. I don't want to see that. You know, I don't want to see that kind of thing. You know, I don't like the people because I think they are, wrong-minded in the way they think and the way they oppress other people and stop freedom of speech. But I don't want to see them hurt. But this is going on over in France, and nobody does or says anything about them. You know, most of all ourselves. Anyway, that's enough for now. Just to remind you, the latest opinion poll, according to what I've got from YouGov, is Remain 46%, Leave 54%. Let's get out of the EU before it collapses and drags us into a black hole that we'll never recover from. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care of yourself.